Start off growing within a particular niche, and then you can slowly expand out from that niche. In my case, early on in my YouTube journey, my unfair advantage was that I was a medical student at Cambridge University. It's hard to become a medical student at Cambridge University, or so I hear. It is an unfair advantage that is difficult for someone else to replicate. And so, provided that unfair advantage matches my value proposition, if I was singing guitar videos, my value proposition does not match my unfair advantage. I'm a medical student at Cambridge, I suck at singing, I suck at music, and I'm trying to make guitar videos. It's just not going to work. But if I'm a medical student at Cambridge University and I'm teaching people how to become medical students at Cambridge University, you've got a perfect match between the unfair advantage and the value proposition. So in general, again, when we look at all this stuff around like what are the factors that cause YouTubers to blow up versus not, generally there is some sort of competitive advantage that is underlying their YouTube channel and they are leaning into that competitive advantage. At this point, people will often say, well, what if I don't have any unfair advantages? I would say that, firstly, you don't have to have unfair advantages to succeed on YouTube. It just makes it more likely. But also, you probably do. Think of the stuff that you've learned over the last 5 years, or over the last 2 years, or over the last 10 years, or over the last 1 year. Think of the experiences you've had in your life. Those experiences are probably not the experiences I've had in my life. They're probably not the experiences that Izzy or Aman or Elizabeth or Han or Azul or your friends maybe. They're probably experiences that are somewhat unique to you. You can often find your unfair or competitive advantages within that. Again, in our YouTuber Academy, we have a whole worksheet with journaling prompts and everything around how to figure out your unfair advantages. But one important way to think about this is what have you invested hours and hours and hours of your life into that other people might not have done? One of our other former students, her name is Ellie Jean. She is a fashion expert. She's invested hundreds, thousands of hours of her life into understanding women's fashion. And so when she did a YouTube channel breaking down women's fashion and she is leaning into that unfair advantage because she already has thousands of hours of experience in that particular field because she was just interested in the topic. I have 184 days of playtime on World of Warcraft, the video game. It's a bit of an unfair advantage. It's nowhere near the thousands of hours that the professional World of Warcraft players have. But the fact that I've spent 200 days of my life playing World of Warcraft means that I'd probably be better at making a World of Warcraft channel than I would a Minecraft channel. I've spent no time playing Minecraft at all. I've also spent hundreds of hours of my time designing websites back from the age of 13 up to the age of 30. Wow, it's been a while. And so if I was starting a brand new YouTube channel, something in the web design space, teaching people how to do web design, would also make sense because I've already got all that experience. So the thing I would ask you is, what could your competitive advantage be? What is stuff that you have potentially invested large amounts of time that other people you know might not have invested all that time into? And can you lean into that in some way for your YouTube channel? Because the more of a foundation of experience you are sitting on, at least for educational content, the more likely that channel is to succeed, at least in my experience. And also this video is going on super, super long, but if you're here at this point, I imagine you probably want to hear more rather than hear less, so apologies if the video is going on too long. One thing I find super helpful is to also think about what is something that you are surprised that other people find hard. Often it's hard to figure out what our own strengths are, but if you think about what surprises you about other people being weirdly bad at, what might that thing be? In my case, I'm often surprised that other creators I know and other people I speak to seem to really struggle with creating an online course and seem to really struggle with the concept of teaching or getting up on stage and doing a talk and doing a presentation. I'm that's kind of surprising that other people are bad at that. And what I've realized over time is, I'm just weirdly good at that thing. I can take a concept, break it down, turn it into a 5-step framework, spiel on a video about it for 60 minutes, do a talk on stage without any prep, and it's just my jam. It's just what I do. But it's really hard for other people. So that is a good unfair advantage to lean into. What is something about you you think is kind of weird that other people are weirdly bad at? And that can often give you an indication as to what your unfair advantage might be. All right, let's move on to the fifth and final key thing, consistency and enjoyment. Now here I want to use the example of Azul. Azul is one of the students in our accelerator program. Again, links down below if you want to check out any of this stuff. Azul is a dude in his 60s, at least I think he's in his 60s. It would be awkward if he's younger than that. So Azul, please, yeah, whatever. Azul is a dude in his 60s who does financial advice videos for other people who are 50 plus. Azul is very, very consistent with his channel. He's got practically daily uploads and his videos are very low lift. He just sort of walks around a park and talks to the camera, but the videos don't need to be a high lift, partly because the niche is not saturated. There's not that many people doing content giving financial advice to people in their 50s and 60s and 70s. And so the fact that Azul enjoys the process of making these videos and has been very consistent with it, that alone can often be the thing that makes your channel stand out. Last man standing is a viable strategy. The thing that every single successful YouTuber has in common is that they have been consistent in some ways, sometimes on and off, but generally consistent with their channels.